It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Due Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday we were shaking the Monday morning blues with the Duke Time crew, and we talked about the things that women complain about that don't matter to men at all. One of the main things women complain that men don't pick up on their subtle hints. And men are like, I can't read minds. I can't read your mind. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're thinking. You're going to have to definitely tell me what is going on. And ladies, come on. My question is, you know what? If you want something, just say so. Just say it. Just say it. Stop playing these games, and now you're causing a whole bunch of friction, and you're upset because he doesn't know. No. Come on, ladies. Be smart. Be smart and be smart. Don't do it to yourself. All women are worried and complain about how he engages with her on social media. Yeah, women are just like that. You know, they want to post all the great things and all the trips, and he kissed me last night for the first time, and all of this, you know. Listen, men don't necessarily want their business out there. He doesn't want his business out there. So, you know, he's not going to respond the same way you think he should respond. Okay. Here's one that was a good one. He pays no attention to when you give him the silent treatment. When I saw this one on the list, I had to laugh because I was like, you know what? They could care less whether you're giving them the silent treatment. As far as they're concerned, good, shut up. I can deal with the quiet. He doesn't care if you give him the silent treatment. He may not really like it, you know, because that means something is wrong. But at the end of the day, child, he is enjoying how you're not doing all that talking. All right. What was another one that I really liked? She complains that he gets the bad vibes from other women, and he's sitting up there like, she did? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't get, yeah. How many women have come to me, Pastor Steph, blah, 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 blah. He act like he don't know. Sometimes they know, and other times they don't. Yes. Men just don't. They're not necessarily picking up all that kind of stuff. You need to go back and hear some of the stuff that was said yesterday. Boy, we had a laughing good time here on his Due Time yesterday. Just leave it to Pastor KL. He'll give it to you every single time. So that was our relationship topic yesterday. Things that women complain about that men could care less about. And, you know, when the list was long, and I think I'm going to try to wrap this list up next week. because I don't know what's on the rest of this list, but I'm going to survey the list. And if it's worth, talking about, I will, because there were some goodies. There were some real goodies on that list. Well, the switch with Shantice was on yesterday, and we haven't had her in a week or so. Let God call you out is the word. And I want to say is the word because although she gave that switch tip yesterday, it was still resounding with me when I woke up after I didn't thought about, some of the stuff that she said yesterday. And did y'all hear the fire inside that girl? Man, I was scared to get back on after her yesterday. Yes. But, as was said yesterday, and I kind of piggybacked off of what she was saying during my closing, when God is calling you out on things, consider it a blessing. People don't like to go to church and hear a sermon that speaks of them. Yeah. Their thing is, he stepped on my toes or she stepped on my toes. They don't say that now because of, the lingo is very different. But years ago, if people would go to church and they hear a sermon that was definitely about, something that they were going through or whatever, the first thing they would say is, they stepped all over my toes. Well, now, they say, hey, they were talking about me. I had a young lady in my congregation quite a few years ago. And she said to me, I feel like every week when you get up, you're talking about me. And I had to say to her, I'm sorry, but I got a room filled with about 40 people. If you think God is bringing me or you out every Sabbath to just talk about you, girl, God does care about other people. It just so happened that I guess maybe she was caught up in so much that the things that God was delivering, she could make applicable to her. And my thing is, listen, if the shoe fits, wear it, take it and run. Thank God for it, because God could easily look the other way and really not pay much attention to the things that you're doing and allow you to live a very sinful life and be okay. But because he does not want to see anyone perish, he's going to call us out on some things, especially if we call ourselves his. See, a person who does not know God, they're not going to feel that, every time the pastor gets up, every time you hear a sermon, they talk about you, because there's no conviction, like that. But when you are professing Christ and God is speaking openly, generally, and it's applicable to you, then take your notes and move on. Take your notes, change your life, and move on. And if you think that God is saying something to you, then you need to go to God and have that conversation. God, okay, this the third week. So when she said that to me, I was like, yo, girl, if you really feel like God is talking to you, and she wasn't even one who had professed Christ. She wasn't even one who had professed, to know God like that. She was a church-going, young lady, but, she didn't say, that the Lord was ahead of her life or anything like that. So I was like, well, you know what? If God is like pulling on your coattail, then that's really, really something that you need to give God, thanks about, and understand that God wants your life. So listen, pull them bootstraps together and get up on that horse and ride to that throne, girl. Get to that throne. So, again, when, the switch tip, let God call you out. I love these last few switch tips, especially because they are so practical. They are becoming more and more practical as the day goes on. Yes, because after we got finished yesterday, it just, made me think about my own life. It just made me think about my own life and how God, I always tell y'all, God snatches me up, snatches me by the collar, and I can't budge. I can't budge. And if I do, he's like, excuse me, you need to stand up straight. And I'm like, all right. Up, you're leaning. Let's go. Get yourself together. Yeah, he does not let up on Stephanie. But I don't complain. I deem it a real blessing because I say, God, you could just watch me go to hell. And that I do not want. So go back and listen to yesterday's show. It definitely gave you something to think about from the beginning all the way to the end. And I'm sure you can take some notes. Oh, listen, we started off yesterday morning with the health tip. Whoa, oh. The foods you need to eat to keep your eyes sharp for years. You definitely want to go back and listen and take those notes. Man, like I said, yesterday's episode, from beginning all the way to the end, man, you're going to really be blessed. Well, today is Let's Talk About It Tuesday Church Folk Day. And I hope you're ready to talk. I don't know about this news. I wasn't impressed. But, God is always pulling something out of his hat. So I say, go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody, anybody, that it's due time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we will be right.
Every time you walk into Radio City Music Hall, you're experiencing the genius of a man who wasn't even allowed inside when he first designed it. David Crosthwaite engineered the heating system for Radio City Music Hall in the 1930s, during segregation when many theaters banned black patrons entirely. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. While designing climate control for buildings he couldn't legally enter, Crosthwaite was quietly revolutionizing how every building in America controls temperature. The man held 119 patents in temperature regulation technology. Think about that. 119 ways he transformed how we heat and cool our world. From Nashville to Purdue University, where he earned his engineering degrees, to becoming the director of research at C.A. Dunham Company, Crosthwaite didn't just break barriers, he shattered them. He literally wrote the manual on modern HVAC systems while being denied access to the very spaces his innovations made comfortable. In 1971, he became the first Black Fellow of the American Society of Heating and Air Conditioning Engineers. The father of modern climate control spent his career making everyone else comfortable while fighting for his own place in history. Next time your thermostat works perfectly, remember David Crosthwaite.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And it's Let's Talk About It Tuesday Church Folk Day. Yeah. We're getting closer and closer to September 30th mark. And before you know it, we'll be like looking at January 1st. God spares our life. Time is flying by. Yes. Well, I'm so glad you've joined me this morning. And I want to say good morning to you who are on with me. So the only way I know is if you say good morning to me. All right. So we got a check-in from our girl, Ketty. Hey, Ketty. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a check-in from our boy, Terrence. Hey, Terrence. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And my girl, Miss Charlene, is up early saying good morning to us. Good morning, Miss Charlene. How are you? And I'm assuming Miss Grace is laying up in the cut. Good morning, Miss Grace. How are you? Hope you're doing well this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And we got to make sure we say good morning to the ladies that help us hold it down in the mornings and keep us running. Let's say good morning to our girl, Shantice. Hey, Shantice. And let's say good morning to our girl, Anika. Hey, Anika. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and a good morning. Well, y'all know what we do on Tuesday morning to get us started. We got our little trivia. And I thought this one was cute. I saw this. I came across this the other day. And I was like, oh, okay. Let's see what they got up on this list. Well, this list is about some disproven, what they call disproven medical myths. And these people, you know, they're people who still believe that some of these myths are true. Listen, there are old wives' tales and myths about everything. But when it comes to your health, I don't think there's anything more comical than people who talk about, well, I got a bump underneath my eye, so that means that I hit the number, you know, this morning. Just all kinds of crazy things. So I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, I want to delve into this one. All right. We're talking about the fact that people say the myth, vaccines do more harm than good. All right. Yeah, people think that, you know, vaccinations are like some conspiracy to pass along some germ or illness because of what happened many years ago with, you know, some black men. And, you know, they won't take vaccinations. But, you know, they said, you know, vaccinations have definitely helped save our lives and really saved us from being ill. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to live in that, but I can't tell you what to live in that, you know, in and what not to live in. I'm just saying that, you know, those of us who were vaccinated many, many years ago, we were very healthy. It wasn't, let me tell you something, it's only like these kids now that get allergies before they even get to this earth. They, you know, this autism and ADHD and all of this kind of stuff. We didn't have all of this when we were growing up, and we were all vaccinated because we had that little thing on the side of our arm. Yeah, that showed that we were vaccinated. And it's funny because the kids don't even have that now. None of my girls have that mark. But we did. Every last one of us had that mark. I don't know what was in that vaccination, but we all, or that vaccine, but we all had that mark right on our arm. So I don't know. But we were fine. Oh, circumcision is necessary. Well, this individual says, I just had a baby boy, and the pediatrician in the hospital was overjoyed when we said we weren't circumcising. His exact words were, "Oh my goodness, that makes me so happy." Now, I was always told that boys need to get circumcised, X, Y, and Z reason. But one of the things was cleaning. Yeah, it's like you would have to make sure you took the time to really clean. And my thing was, well, then get to cleaning. But, we know in biblical times, circumcision meant something completely different. So if this pediatrician is, not pushing the circumcision anymore, maybe they found out some stuff. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I work in end of life care. So many people think hospice workers are just waiting to kill their loved ones with morphine. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. She says, I don't like hospice. All they ever do is blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, they never made a claim that they would do anything else but make you comfortable. I don't like hospice. What are we gonna do? I don't know. It's the end of life for people, and it's not, the pleasant time. You know what I'm saying? When people are in hospice care, they are terminally ill with a, they're not gonna live much longer. So when they get to that point, it's like not a whole lot that they could really do for the people. And I just think people just don't like that part of life. But I don't know. What are you supposed to do for people who are in so much pain because there's nothing else you could do for them but make them comfortable? I don't know. Hey, we got a chicken from our girl Renee. Good morning, Renee. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So that's another myth. They say, people, they're not trying to kill the people off. So, and it's funny because they say that, all to do is give them morphine. Let me tell you something. When you're in pain, morphine is your best friend. And I mean your best friend. All right. Let's see what another myth is. Women have been having babies for thousands of years as a rationale to dismiss risks. Man, what does that mean? Listen, they have always said that when you're having a baby, you got 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel. That is some serious position to be in. Yes. Your whole body is in danger. Your baby is in danger during childbirth. So I don't know. People just pop out babies like it's nothing. But yeah, your body is really going through a lot of trauma when you're in, childbirth mode. So if they're saying that, women have been having babies to not have risks, I don't know. Let me see what else they say. I don't know. That's boring. Oh, excuse me. There's a myth that says pee is not sterile. Wow. They say urine cultures in the absence of urinary symptoms, pregnancy, or expected urological surgery are useless. It shocks me how often I have to teach medical professionals this. I don't care if you have bacteria in your pee. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Let's see. Natural supplements are better and safer than proven medications. I've seen people die with treatable cancer, heart disease, liver failure, or get very sick from these untested products, and they cost a lot. Please be careful. There have been people who, have, like they said, they don't take medicine that's prescribed more than they take medicine, like supplements and stuff like that, because they're like, oh, you take medicine, they trying to kill you. Well, what you think supplements are? They some kind of medicine. It may not be like as strong, but there's some kind of medicine. They're not, and I understand, what this person is saying. It's, what people decide to do for their health care is on them, is really on them. I'm going to the doctor. Listen, surgeons have saved my life. That's all I could tell you. I should have been dead several times, but thank God for the surgeon who saved my life by the hands of the Lord. So I ain't playing. Stroke level blood pressure, as if there's a certain blood pressure at which point you will absolutely have a stroke. High blood pressure is a chronic problem. A stroke is a consequence of long-term blood pressure, not a one-off day of high blood pressure. Oh, interesting. So what they're saying is there are some people who say, well, if you let your high blood pressure get that high, you're at stroke level. And what they're saying is not so much that there's not a stroke level, but there's more to it than a stroke level. That the prolonged high blood pressure is what has actually caused the blood pressure, not so much the level of the pressure. We know that, 200, you might as well just you're near to death. We know that, but it's more of how long it's been high and then high at that level, more than it's just high today at that level. There's some other underlying things that will help the stroke along. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they're saying. A lot of people, they're running from the one high number, but are not paying attention more to the longevity of the high numbers. So that was an interesting one. That was a real interesting one. All right. Let's see. That you have to take the bullet out. You don't. The holes the bullet made are the problem. Simply taking the bullet out doesn't fix anything. I give a hard eye roll every time I see this in movies. It's funny. I just got finished reading or hearing something. Well, I don't know if it was on Instagram, but from a doctor. I don't know where it was. Oh no, I was looking at like the Learning Channel, and it was something like they took this out of me, something like that. The name of the show. Yeah, they got this out of me, something to that effect. And one of the doctors said that not all the time when people get shot that they remove the bullet. They say most times what people don't realize is it's safer to leave the bullet in than to actually remove it. And he kind of said the same thing that this individual said, that the movies show you all kinds of different, oh my, they got this gunshot and they got to take the bullet out. But he was like, no, most times there's no surgery to remove the bullet at all. They just have to monitor the area, where the bullet is from time to time to ensure that the bullet has not moved. So that was something that was really interesting as well. They have here the myth that vitamin C cures or prevents a cold. And they said, I'm amazed at how deeply people hold the outdated idea that taking huge doses of vitamin C when sick or feeling like they are coming down with something will have a major effect or otherwise prevent the full severity of an illness. Vitamin C, of course, is necessary for the good functioning of the immune system, but no, it doesn't have that kind of miracle cure ability that people think. Okay, all righty. Uh, Teeth are luxury bones, and that's why insurance doesn't cover them. Teeth are not just cosmetic, they are also needed. Yo, I am definitely a proponent for this thing here. When they say without teeth, the ability to chew food properly diminishes, leading to potential nutritional deficiencies and digestive problems. Not having teeth also causes bone loss in the jaw and speech problems. So true. Now that I don't have bottom teeth and I have to chew my food very differently. Yeah, teeth are not a luxury. Teeth are necessary. Yeah, I've experienced much different abdominal issues now that I don't have teeth to chew my food. And I'm talking about rice. I'm not talking about nothing hard. I'm talking about soft stuff. Yeah. And if I don't chew my food, that rice gets caught right in my chest. And man, that is not something you want. So no, teeth are not a luxury. Has nothing to do with the insurance. But I think they don't want to pay for insurance. They don't want to spend a lot of money on your teeth because you don't take care of it. That's what I think. I could be wrong. But I think that's one of the reasons why there's not a whole lot of money put into our teeth, because people are not going to go and take care of their teeth because the insurance companies are paying. They're going to waste so much money because people in this day and time are still running from the dentist. And I did that for years, so I definitely understand. But, you know, I now sit in the dentist chair and I have to deal with it. Whatever the pain is, I literally sit in that chair and I talk to God and I say, all right, you know what? I did this to me. I did this to myself. So, oh, well, God, just please help me deal with whatever pain I got to endure, whether it's before, whether it's during, or whether it's after. Because, baby, you don't take care of your teeth, you're going to have problems before, during, and after. So, that's some of the myths that we deal with. There's some of the myths. Yeah, they got some other ones here, but it's time for the news. And it's not like we got some exciting news today, but I gotta do what I gotta do. Let's see what we're talking about in the news today. Well, this one was an interesting story. So you have an 11-year-old young man or boy who was expelled after taking the gun away from a classmate. And mom is in a complete uproar now because she's saying that they didn't handle this situation properly. Now, I want to hear what you got to say, because I got my thoughts. I have my thoughts. As you know, that's why it's on Let's Talk About It Tuesday. This day. So here's the story. You have this little boy here who is in elementary school, and he went to school and saw one of his fellow students with a gun. And he took the gun away from the child. And because he has some hunting knowledge, he disarmed the boy. He disassembled the weapon and threw away the bullets. And later, I'm trying to figure out, they said it in this article, but he was seen with the gun. He was seen with the gun. And they expelled him from school. And one of the issues, all of these, when they took the gun, they must have asked him who was the other kid that he took the gun from. And he said he wouldn't tell the person because he didn't want to, give the name up. So they have expelled him from school for a year. And he is now having to be homeschooled. So they have this GoFundMe because now mom has had to take off work in order to homeschool him. So they need the extra money. So somebody, not mom, but somebody started a GoFundMe page and they're collecting money. And mom is upset because she's saying, listen, if someone else that other person kept the gun could have gone off. The gun could have killed the kid that was carrying the gun. The gun could have gone off and killed another student, a teacher, whoever it was. So why are you punishing my son? So that's what the big uproar is about. Now, I'm asking you, what do you think they should have done? Should they have, she's saying they should salute my son as a hero, because if it weren't for him, something else could have gone down with the gun. So I have my questions. And one of my questions is, how come if you were able to take the gun from the kid, why you didn't turn the gun in? I'm just lost there. That's the first question that comes to my mind. Why are you holding on to the gun? So they're saying school administrators learned that the 11-year-old handled the weapon. They expelled him for possessing a gun, removing him from school for 1 year. And what they're saying is, some time ago, there was another gun incident at this very school. And whatever happened with that incident, they vowed that any child that came to school with a gun or they found with a gun, they would expel for a year. So they're not budging from this particular decision. And mom is really, 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 really upset because she said he was an AB student and he's a respectable young man, an athlete, and I don't know. My thing is, let me see what y'all say. Let me see what y'all say. Terrence, we got a check-in from our girl, Kyra. Hey, Kyra. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. All righty. Yes, Terrence says, wait, they know it's not his gun and they still suspended him because he did not snitch. Yeah. Good morning, Serge. Good morning. Yeah, thank you for joining us this morning. Yeah, Terrence, that's the deal. They have admitted that they know that this is not his gun. Now, y'all weigh in on this thing because I'm curious. I'm curious as to whether y'all feel he should be, expelled or not. I guess I'll find out from my Due Time crew. Yeah, Terrence, that's how it's going down. They expelled him. All right, what else is going on in Newstown? Let's see what other stories we got. All righty. Woo! So we all know this issue about Charlie Kirk. We did not discuss it here on his Due Time because when the whole thing started, I was out and I just never did the research and I didn't feel comfortable really talking about this. But this has been the thing. When I tell you, there has been almost no other news when it comes to celebrities and it comes to the church and all over the place. So interestingly enough, there's this woman in Ohio who went to buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And when she got her cup of coffee, there was a message written on it. And so whatever the name of the coffee or the drink she ordered, This particular drink was supposedly the same drink that Charlie Kirk used to like to drink. So the person who served her wrote racist fave drink on the cup and gave it to her. And they fired her, the person who gave her the drink. Now, she doesn't seem to be, her response in this article doesn't seem to be like somebody else, how they would have responded. But she has vowed she's not buying anything else from Starbucks. Not only is she not buying anything else from Starbucks, but she says anybody in her family and anybody who will listen, she's telling them, do not buy anything from Starbucks. Now, this Starbucks in Ohio is in the Kroger supermarket. So it's not a standalone Starbucks store. So it's in Kroger. And when Kroger found out that this is what she experienced, they definitely addressed it immediately and fired her. Now, my question to you all, would you, after knowing that they did fire the person immediately, there was no hesitation, they fired the person immediately, would you ban and boycott Starbucks? I'm just curious. Again, I'll weigh in later, but I'm curious as to know, would that be the average response for people? That you would, that they caught the person. This is not a mystery. This is not something that you're waiting for them to do something about. This was handled instantaneously. And she didn't have to write to, corporate and all of that kind of stuff. No, they got rid of her real quick. Real quick. So I'm interested in what you would have done. Would Starbucks or any other, merchant be off your list because of what this person did? Okay, because Kroger's stance. They do not represent they do not express the feelings of Kroger or Starbucks. This was, they acted on their own. So let me know. I'll come back to the comments in a minute. All right, what else are we talking about here today? Oh, baby. This one here really caught my attention. There's a little boy, and I'm trying to figure out, he's a little one too. He's like maybe 5. He's 5. Oh boy. So he has been diagnosed with several illnesses. And this one here was really interesting. He's been diagnosed with sleep apnea, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And they were treating him in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Now, let me tell you why this is expressly interesting to me. The last surgery I had in 2016, I wasn't healing properly, where the wound would close with like stitches or staples. And what happened was, in order to expedite the healing, the surgeons, along with some other, he consulted with some other people, they thought it would be best for me to go into the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Let me tell you what this is. Shantice, pull up a picture of this hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It's almost something like what you saw Michael Jackson get in. It's a tube, and you get in a tube and you lay down, and for excuse me, a minimum of like an hour, a minimum. Everybody goes in for a different amount of time, but it is concentrated oxygen, 100% oxygen. And it is so sensitive that you cannot wear anything other than cotton in this chamber. And you sit in this chamber and you breathe for an hour and a half. And I had to do 30 days. And what happens is the method of healing is it heals you from the inside out. So the hope was that they could heal me from inside and it would help the wound on the outside to close quicker. So I had to do 30 days of that. And it's done for like, there was another woman in there for her foot. She had a wound on her foot, an open wound on her foot. And they do that because it expedites any healing. But I wanted to read what they were telling the family. They told the family that, which it can treat up to like 13 different conditions. And one, I told you what mine was. And one of the things they say is carbon monoxide poisoning, foot wounds related to diabetes. And I'm a diabetic. So that was one of the other reasons why they thought the woman with the foot that I told you about. Yep. They said foot wounds. She was in there because she was also a diabetic and she had gotten her feet done and manicured. And they snipped her with some unclean things, and they were her own utensils, and somehow she got infected. So they put her in there. And decompression sickness in divers. Now, here's the thing. They recommended this hyperbaric chamber to this family for this little boy for, like I said, those things. Remember, he has sleep apnea, hyperactivity, and ADD. And they're saying that they don't treat those things in the hyperbaric chamber. Well, here's what happened. The poor baby was in the hyperbaric chamber and it caught on fire. And of course, it's literally a chamber. Did you put the picture up there, Shanti? I completely missed it. Reading. Yes, that's it. Well, because it's sealed, remember, 100% oxygen, so oxygen can't be escaping. They say that, again, I tell you, it's very sensitive. It caught on fire, and mom was there, and mom was trying to get to the boy, but could not. No, she can't, because it's sealed. It's locked. It's sealed. Yeah. And someone has to be there. Nope, they don't walk off. They ain't got no business turning around, looking all over the place. They can't go get no water. No. And you get nothing once you get in there. So you better drink your water, go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do, because that's it. And this baby was burned alive. Oh my God. And all I could think about was for 30 days, I was in this hyperbaric chamber. And this poor baby experienced something like this. Yeah. Burned alive. So now I don't have to tell you, they have this, I think it's like some 500 million. Yeah, they've got some crazy amount of money because he was watched. And they're saying that although this particular center treats over 100 conditions, including autism, Alzheimer's, and cancer, the FDA does not recognize the hyperbaric chamber therapy for those particular conditions. So the conditions that he was in there for, they should have never put that baby in that hyperbaric chamber. And I gotta tell you, it's beautiful to be a kid because you are completely like oblivious to any dangers. And so when he would get in there, I'm sure, he didn't know. He just was told, you lay still, blah, 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 blah. But you do. You just, because ain't nothing for you to do. It's that narrow chamber. And you just kind of lay back on like a little bed thing. And you just lay there. And they used to play movies, for me to look at. And there's like a speaker so you could hear. And you just watch your movie for the hour and a half that I was in there. And there would be times, I ain't lying, there would be times that I'd be like, Lord, just let me get up in here and just let me get up out of here. You don't smell anything. You don't smell anything. It's 100% oxygen, but you smell nothing. It's like odorless. But you realize as an adult that's all that's in there. You and oxygen. And when they check you from head to toe, they check you from head to toe. You can't have no hairpins. You can't have no jewelry. I used to have a wound bandage, and they had to make sure that wound bandage was 100% cotton, which they are, but they had to make sure it was 100% cotton. You don't go in there with no slippers on your feet. You don't go in there with no fingernail polish on. You don't go in there with nothing. You don't go in there with no contacts. You don't go in there with no false teeth. Nothing. Nothing. Is you, 100% you and oxygen. And when I read this yesterday, my heart, I felt so bad for this baby because there was no way out. And they couldn't get him out quick enough. They couldn't get him out quick enough. So this here, oh Lord have mercy, this here just blew my mind yesterday. Blew my mind. Yeah, Deshanti's asking where's the person monitoring the baby. I don't know. All I know is I could tell you there was one time that I had taken they had given me, I had gotten sick, so they gave me like that thing for the asthma. You inhale it, the asthma pump thing. So they gave that to me, and I had to take like a couple of squirts before I got in. And clearly, my body couldn't handle the pump and going inside and inhaling it, and my heart rate was at 200 and something. And I could feel this pulsating, and I knocked on the glass, and she was right there. She was right there. Because things happen. So that's why the first thing I was like, well, where in the world was the person who was monitoring this baby? Because especially a kid who could at any time kind of get fidgety and moving around. Mom was there, and I don't know where the person was. So here's my thought. That person had to have stepped off, because there's nowhere in the world mom would be in there trying to do all kinds of things to open up this chamber, but yet the person who could open up the chamber, because here's the thing, they have to turn it down. Remember, they can't just open up the chamber. Can you imagine? The whole place would explode. So they've got to turn it down. When it's time for you to get out, they have to turn it down. It goes down slowly. And then when it goes down to a certain point, they then open it up. Because see, remember, it's nothing else in there. So they can't turn it down and leave you there because there ain't no air. So they have to turn it down very slowly. And then they open it up. And then you out. It's not a whole lot. It's not a big process. But whatever it was, clearly he was nowhere, or she was nowhere to be found. And mom was left, they said, scrambling, trying to get her poor baby up out of there. And I was trying, they said something about synthetic or static. So I was trying to remember what happened. They said something about some static occurred in the chamber And that's why. And the people are saying that it was greed, that they're suing because there's greed from the people who suggested so that they could get the money. And oh my God, what a tragedy. What a tragedy. I'm trying to, they say mom rushed toward the chamber when the fire ignited, burning her arm in an unsuccessful attempt to save her son as he burned alive in front of her. Oh, Jesus. Who's on with me? Is that Pastor Vinny? $100 million in damages. They were suing for something bigger than that, but they've landed now at $100 million here. So they got these people who are facing 1 count of second-degree burn and 1 count of involuntary manslaughter. And the one who was operating the hyperbaric chamber at the time was charged with 1 count of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of intentionally placing false information in medical records. So then you lied after the poor baby died. They say static electricity sparked the deadly blaze. So I don't know, but I'm telling you, you couldn't go in there with anything in your hair. They told you. And there's a huge sign of all the no's. And before you go, they check your blood pressure. Because I was a diabetic, they'd have to test my blood sugar level. Because when you come out, they have to test your blood sugar level as well. You got to get it checked twice. I don't know what that's about. But they do that, and they really monitor you going in and coming out. Yeah, you get like vitals checked on both sides. And before you go in, they ask you every time, you got this, got that. There's a check, go in the back. You have to change your clothes, come out with your gown, blah, blah, blah. What you got? Let's look at your hands, let's look at your nails, let's look at this, let's look at your that. What you got in your eyes, your mouth. Yes. Static electricity. That's all he needed in 100% oxygen. Where's Pastor Vinny? We coming back to these comments. Woo!
Where is it? We're on.
Oh, hey, Pastor Vinny and Pastor Brenda.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing good.
Well, yesterday, good. Yesterday we were praying for you. We're glad to see you on with us this morning.
Yes, glad to be here.
Amen. Amen. Well, we got some really interesting stories going on this morning. And let's get to talking. What's the first one we were talking about? All right. So I'm asking everybody to weigh in this morning. We've got the 11-year-old little boy who went to school, saw his classmate with the gun, disarmed the classmate, dismantled the gun, threw the bullets in the garbage. Everybody knows it's not his gun. They asked him to tell whose gun it is. He would not tell. He said, I'm not telling. I don't feel comfortable telling. I want to protect that individual. Mom says her son is a hero and they need to be saluting him, not punishing him. He's been expelled from school for 1 entire year. Does the punishment fit the crime, Pastor Vinny and Pastor Brenda?
No. I say no, but you see, I see this young man really caught in as they say, a conundrum. Because if he brought that gun to the authorities, to whoever, right? They would still ask those same questions. Where'd you get the gun from? Whose gun is it? And his answer would still be the same. He doesn't feel comfortable telling you. So he still is going to, be blamed for having that gun because, what is it? Possession is 9/10 of the law. So he's still caught in this bad situation, even though he's a good kid. But you know, you you can't do these things and paint everybody with the same brush. If he was a kid that was always in trouble, if he was a kid that had, always had issues, now that's a different story. But this kid, out of the blue, is with this gun. He in his heart, I believe, was trying to do the right thing, but their, stipulations wouldn't allow him to do the right thing. I kind of agree with his mother. This kid should be a hero.
Okay. I'm going to get your say on it, Pastor Brenda. I'm going to Pastor KL, and then I'll weigh in. What say you, Pastor Brenda?
There's the old time saying that snitches get stitches. So, he may have been afraid to tell, but you know what? Back in the day, everybody would have been put in the same room and say, okay, who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it? This kid had enough sense to dismantle the gun and throw away the books. Would they have preferred that the kid that brought the gun shoot up the school? Is that and then all we would hear about is thoughts and prayers again? I'm with Pastor Vinny and the mom. I'm like, a year is a bit much. It's a bit much, but and he was trying to protect somebody, who knows, in a heartbeat may not have protected him when it was time for the gun to go off. Suppose the kid decided to shoot the gun. Would he have been one of the people that got shot?
Right.
We don't know.
Absolutely.
We don't know. So, a year suspension, that's a bit much. And especially if they know that he was in the one. I know that, they seem to have that zero tolerance that if you're found with it, out you go. But this is one of those exceptional cases.
All righty. We got to check in from our girl, Vivian. Good morning, Viv. Thank you so much for joining us. Where's Pastor KL so he can weigh in on this thing here? Good morning, Pastor KL.
God bless you, man and woman of God.
Blessings, my brother. So we've got this issue of this 11-year-old who didn't bring the gun to school, but saw his classmate with the gun, took the gun from the classmate, dismantled the gun, threw the bullets in the garbage, and somehow or another, he was found to have the gun, and now they have expelled him for a year. They did ask him, who the gun belonged to. He did not tell, and now he is no longer in school for a year, and he has to be homeschooled. What say you? Mom says he's be seen as a hero.
There's so many formal questions. One is, how did you see the gun? Was the kid showing it off? How was the gun exposed? And then what kind of family you got that you know how to dismantle guns? And I'm already looking at you as dangerous. But I think the third question for me is, after he would not snitch, you have the gun now. Can't you see who it's registered to? Then you can find out who the gun belongs to anyway, or at least the parent of one of your children. What kind of due diligence did you do as the staff? Since he wouldn't give up the information, there's ways for you to find out who the gun belongs to if it's registered. We could have squashed that all together, and then we could have decided that yes, he was just trying to dismantle and trying to save everybody. Now, I would agree with you when you said, why didn't he take the gun to authorities or someone, a fire rank? Perhaps he was scared. But when they found the gun, they should have saw that he dislodged the gun and there was no bullets in it. So he was no threat. So all of this should have confirmed his story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's see what the room says. The room says that doesn't make sense to expel for a year. Serge said that's a lawsuit. Terrence says, I guess he did not snitch because that boy might be going through a lot. We don't know. Let's see if we got some other. comment. All right. Terry says you have to explain to everybody why he got the year, because there was another issue in the school, and they said if this issue happened again, no matter what, they're giving out a year's suspension. And Vivian says this no snitching thing is dangerously annoying. All right, I gotta tell y'all, I do not agree. And I wish Shanti, Shawnice, or Tamasia then somebody would call me and tell me, Miss Griffin, we got your girl here and she dismantled a gun and she won't tell us who it belongs to. Bet you don't want to talk, you'll never talk again. I wish you'd protect who you got this gun from. Because see, here's my thought. Fighting for you when you won't even tell who the gun is for, who the gun belonged to. You listen, I do feel that a year is excessive, but I'm sorry, we're not protecting nobody. Right now, you're left out to dry. And if the shoe was on the other foot, we don't know about this snitching thing, if that would have been preserved. I ain't nowhere in the world one of these girls would be in here and we gonna go home and sleep. And the person who brought the gun to school, they're not taking any ownership for bringing the gun to school, but I'm pegging you as a hero and a hero only. Nah, I'm sorry. Because here's my thought. If I don't teach you to stand up now, how you spending the rest of your life? Covering for who? To bring the gun to school was a crime. To bring the gun to school was dangerous. To bring this gun to school was dangerous, not only for you who would brought the gun to school, but to, like you said, Pastor Brennan, and like I said earlier, to anybody. This gun could have gone off in the kid's possession, shot him. It could have shot the one who was taking it from him, shot a teacher, shot another child. We don't know. But we surely ain't protecting nobody. I wish you would look at me and tell me, Ma, I can't tell. Oh, you won't? You will never talk on a phone. You'll never talk on a tablet. You'll never talk again. I wish you would tell me you not talking and you gonna be in my house? Nah, I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting when we're protecting who? So we're protecting the negligent parent that allowed you to get access to this gun in the first place? Y'all didn't lost your mind. No, I'm sorry. We ain't playing that game.
So are we also upset at our child because they risked their life by taking this gun?
Absolutely. Okay, so to answer your question, you were like, what kind of family? So they said that the family are hunters. And they've taught him, he knows how to do all of this stuff, I guess, from the hunting practices. So my thing is, why you just didn't tell the kid had a gun? Because taking the gun from the kid could have posed a danger to you. What if he refused? What if he said, no, I'm not giving you no gun and shot you? Nah, you run and tell somebody. That's what you do. You don't take it and what would have happened as he was disarming the gun, it went off? Now what happens? Now they're going to charge you. If they charging him with a year of expulsion for just having the gun in his possession, what would they have charged him with had that gun gone off while he was trying to dismantle the gun? What would they have said? What would they have said at that point? Now they got a bigger charge. Now he was trying to do the right thing. I do not dismiss that. But I'm sorry. I can't. No, you ain't telling. So now these people sit back and they parlay while my child don't have a year in school, and that goes on his permanent record. And y'all sitting back and parlay. Your child is protected. No way. No way. No. I'm sorry. No. Terrence says, Vivian says, I agree with Pastor Steph, with you, Pastor Steph. Terrence says, I don't think the year is excessive at all due to the other incident that happened before. I agree with the year 100%. You risk, Tashanti says, you risk taking the gun, but not telling which student brought it. Strange. It's a very good question. Very good question. And Terrence says he worked around guns so much that the kid knew how to get the gun from the kid who he took it from, and he took him down to give him the gun. Sir says, oh, okay, that makes sense that he learned how to take apart the gun. Yeah. But my thing is, how you know, if you know how to take care of a hunting rifle, you now know how to take down every gun?
Right.
Mercy.
Well, the mechanisms are similar.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't bring a rifle to the school. He brought a handgun to the school. So they taught you how to dismantle a rifle, but you also know how to dismantle a handgun. Y'all, ain't enough questions being asked for me personally. So, all righty. Here goes dilemma number 2 this morning. We've got, all righty, hold on. I want to see how we weigh in on this one. All right. So you got the customer who ordered the Starbucks beverage, and it happened to be the favorite drink of Charlie Kirk. And when the customer got her drink back, it said racist fave drink. So instantaneously, they did, because it was in a Kroger supermarket, Kroger had the responsibility of terminating this employee's, employment there. And the woman, the customer says, hey, they ain't never got to worry about me again. I'm never ordering, I'm not going in Starbucks anymore. I'm never ordering another drink from Starbucks. And not only will I not order, but my family and anyone I can tell this to, none of us are ordering anymore. Do you think Starbucks should be held responsible where she doesn't purchase and she's banning and boycotting and telling everybody else to boycott? Pastor Brenda.
Her personal choice for boycotting is her personal choice. This stuff nasty anyway. That's overpriced merchandise. Okay? I mean, some people love it, but that's a personal choice. But then to see what was written on the cup, that went a bit too far. That what you may think in your head, you don't always have to,
right.
put down. Right. So, that was a strike right there with the employee. But the lady's saying she's going to boycott Starbucks. That's your choice, honey. You save money. You and your family will save money. So, Starbucks ain't going to cry about it because they got thousands of other people that are lined up to buy their stuff.
Okay. Pastor KL, what say you? Do you think that this move is excessive?
I'm with Pastor Brenda. If that's your choice, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But I often say on here that who we hire is the face of the brand. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the face of the brand can tarnish it really, really bad with one thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And though she's no longer there, she's been dismissed, the face of the brand has still been hit. You know what I mean? Because remember, you can only make a first impression one time, and you can get stained one good time and never recover from that. You know what I mean? As what was said, whatever she felt in her heart, whether it was a racist thing or not, that was on her. That doesn't mean you say everything that comes to your mind, everything that comes to your head. But she has I was surprised when you put up the picture that she was light-skinned, because them light-skinned folks love some Starbucks. Yes, so she must have been really, really mad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think me personally, I think Starbucks is a racial company. Me personally, you know what I mean. I think it's geared just for the light skinned folks. A couple of us, bougie people, we go up in there, but most of us don't go up in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pastor Vinay, do you think that this was excessive? We know she has a right to make her own decision, but do you think this is excessive?
No, I'm with these other two folks. You really have a choice and you have a prerogative. If that stung you so bad that you felt the need to spread the good news, then have at it. My personal feeling is just like Pastor Kale said, Starbucks, and I don't see why people don't understand this. They have a reputation for always being in the middle of some, interracial mess. And no matter how bad it is, they always come out smelling like sweet coffee. There was,
three sugars.
There was a guy that was there, sitting there, and for whatever reason, they asked him to leave, and call the cops on him on this, darker fella. They called the cops on him, and it was a whole issue. I mean, every time you look, there's an issue with Starbucks. As for me and my house, we're gonna leave Starbucks alone. We gonna leave Starbucks alone. When do we stop? I don't see why any person of color feel the need to go to Starbucks.
It's their choice, though.
It's
their choice.
It's their choice. But you know what? You got to understand what you're feeding. You're feeding racism. You're giving them permission to treat you any old kind of way.
Okay. Shanti says Starbucks logo is demonic anyway. Good. Don't support them. We got Shanti says employee was wrong. Starbucks was asking for controversy at some time for naming a drink after Charlie Kirk. Wow. They are aware of how some feel about him, including their employees. Why do things to invite the smoke, then get mad when it comes? Wow. I had no idea about that one. All right. Let's see. Let me see. I got to scroll down to get some of the new comments about Starbucks. Vivian says no Starbucks should be held responsible unless they try to protect the employee. Serge says yes, I agree with Pastor Brenda. However, if they do boycott Starbucks like the world has been doing to others, these companies will lose billions. So here's my thought. Absolutely, what the employee did was wrong. You can't voice your opinion to the customer verbally, especially you gonna write it on the lady's cup. Are you crazy? You didn't lost your mind. You have really lost your mind. In regards to, is it excessive? In my opinion, yeah. I agree with Vivian. You fired her and you did what you were supposed to do. Should this brand suffer? I agree with Pastor KL as well. Unfortunately, this kind of stuff happens. All you need is one person to make you look ugly, and everybody's gonna pay. I don't care who it is. I'm not saying, protect Starbucks or whatever. I'm just talking about in general, a brand. If this was the case, then every company in this world would be out of business if you allowed one person to speak for the entire company. We talked a few months ago about what was that, Popeyes. and how a lot of employees was up in Popeyes fighting people and things like that. And, so now, I don't buy Popeyes in New York because the people out in Louisiana are fighting in Popeyes. I think it's a little excessive, especially when they did their due diligence. They didn't try to protect her. They didn't try to cover up. They didn't try to make excuses for what she did. I mean, to each his own. To each his own. She doesn't want to support them. And I can get it because it's her personal experience. Now when y'all talk about this whole, they're racist and, they're doing all kinds of things. Shanti's talking about they demonic and all this kind of stuff. That's something different. Because that affects everybody, but, in regards to, I have a business and God forbid, one person out in Jersey, there was one lady who didn't like the price. She assumed that the price would be cheaper. And, so now she's disgruntled because she feels she overpaid. And the price she quoted, I was like, ain't nobody selling it to you for that much. And we're the cheapest. And, so if you now go and now nobody buys because of what she experienced when it was her fault, the whole brand suffers, but again, like Pastor KL said, you let one person can take you down. And you know what? Everybody else thought that it was just one person that was unhappy. And look at a whole lot of companies now, it becomes infectious. Like Serge talked about, look at Target. All it took was for people to band together and look at how they've suffered, from their practices and so forth and so on. Terrence says, Black people go to Starbucks to set up meetings for the other. He is so in rare form. Miss Charlene, what have you been feeding your son? He says, Black people go to Starbucks. Wait, I can't see it. To set up meetings for the other side. Also the internet, and they do have some good stores. Stones, which is like the little bakery things. Okay, Terrence. Shanti says, and the employee's handwriting was sloppy. Leave it up to her. Shanti, I really had to break my neck to read the handwriting. So Shanti is on the handwriting. Oh my gosh. All righty. So thank you so much for weighing in on our stuff, on our stories today. Woo! As the world turns, we can call this, right? Okay. So, a few months ago, not a few months ago, but quite a while ago, we talked about lyrics that we sing that are associated with our Christian songs. And a song was submitted this morning, and we're going to see if these lyrics were accurate. I haven't read it, but for Christian individual, they felt that the lyrics were questionable. All right. So, my mind. I said 5 a.m. I wake up to fight for my earnings, my earnings. Oh, I got it. Oh, Lord, give me some glasses. Jesus. I said 5 a.m. I wake shut up, you. I wake up to fight for my earnings. The fear in my mind is a warning. Praying to the one you rely in. I've been wandering all day. I try to be fine, but I can't be. The noise in my mind wouldn't leave me. I try to get by, but I'm burning. And behind my mind, it runs. All these thoughts have troubled me, fighting to give up my pain, fighting to be on my lane. My mind running to the other side. When it's time to live my life, then it tries to take me out. Tell you what I need right here. I really need time now. I need a free mind now. I really need mine now. I need to free my mind now. I really need time now. I need a free mind now. I really need my mind now. Oh yeah. This is peace that you cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy, finding a way when you cannot see. Man will desist if he cannot pray. I need to find release. But behind my mind it runs. All these thoughts have troubled me, fighting to give up my pain, fighting to be on my lane, my mind running to the other side. When it's time to live my life, then it tries to take me out. Tell you what I need right here. And then it goes back to, I really need my mind now. I need a free mind now. I really need time now to set me free, farther than the open mind, farther than the eyes can handle, freer than the ocean now. So set me free. Now I need to find release. Set me to the open sky. Now I need to free my mind. I might be falling deep. Tell me now what you need. I've been going to God when I'm all in my mind. I might be falling deep. I might be falling. Now, the name of this song is Free Mind.
The Visit to Hell.
All right. All right. Well, you know what, Pastor KL, since you opened up first, you clearly heard something up in here.
It sounds like he on suicide. It sounds like he on suicide watch. I mean, it'd be one thing if he started off this story talking about what he's been going through, but he's still going through. So even after you pray, you still falling deeper in your depression. You don't know God. You took a trip to hell, and you trying to come back. I just don't. I don't see no God deliverance, no God healing, no God blessing me. I don't see none of that stuff in this story. Everything is turmoil. Now, if you sing this in front of my church, what am I looking for? What am I looking to? Now I'm the newcomer, and I'm gonna stay in your church. I'm gonna join your church after this song. This is the song that did it for me. This was the testimony that did it for me. No, I'm sorry. You need to go have a couple of seats.
Okay. All right. Thomas says, if this is a song, you got to sing it like a song. If this is a rap song, you got to rap it like a rap song. Shanti says, this is a secular song. Okay. Okay. All right, Pastor Brenda. Go ahead. What you got for us?
Pastor Steph, this was actually written by a singer named Tim. She's a Nigerian singer. Okay. And she her claim to fame, she blends hip hop, dancehall, Afrobeat, and alternative R&B. So no, that's not coming up in church. Sorry.
She should have sang for 52 cents a day. I won't go deeper. That should have been part of it. That should have been part of it.
Wow. No, it sounded. I mean, it just that sounded something that probably would be seriously analyzed by mental health professional, because as Pastor KL said, that sound almost suicidal. And I'm no professional, but no. But that
she's I'm no professional.
I'm no professional.
Okay.
Yeah, that did not sit in my spirit at all. I was wondering when it was gonna stop.
Pastor Vinny.
You get a nod from me, dog. That's a nod. You know, when you bring forth the song, you know, like Pastor Kale said, you know, the introduction, it sets a mood. It sets, you know, it sets conditions, and then as you go further in, you get deeper into trying to see what the situation is, but there always has to be at the end a resolution. That resolution is what brings you back, you know, to a place of levelness, you know, in the Christian realm, a place that draws you to God. This song is like you want to just jump off the cliff. Kill me now. You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I don't get all of this. You know, we have all of this drama, but you know, where's the hope? Where's the promise? Where's the faith? You know, this is the best you can hope for. This song is to go deeper and deeper into the abyss.
Okay, so to me, the key thing was when Pastor Brenda said she's, you know, a lyricist, but she's not claiming Christ.
Right.
Because the song does not profess. However, when you say stuff like praying to the one you rely in, and you know, the peace, this is the peace that you cannot buy. I'm like, well, what peace? I don't hear any peace. And that was in the early part of the song. You know, when you're listening to stuff like this, it didn't sound to me as though this is someone who really knows, let's say, prayer, or as you know, as the church folk would say, the works of prayer. You know, she ends with pretty much saying, tell me now what you need. I've been going to God. When I'm all in my mind, I might be falling deep. I think that key piece right there, when I'm all in my mind, I'm gonna give that to you all. Tell me now what you need. I've been going to God. When I'm all in my mind, I might be falling deep. Pastor Brenda.
It says it right there, when I'm all in my mind. You know, you're not listening to the voice of God per se. You know, you're relying on yourself, you know, to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. What, you know, you're you got God over here, but I'm still going to do what I want to do. You know, so it just tells me that there's just that line, you know, nah. Sad to say.
Okay. Pastor KL.
You know, sometimes we ask God for stuff, and then we're not patient enough to wait for it, so we do it on our own, or we think God needs help. So we give him some ideas, or we try some stuff. You know, anytime you're in your mind, you know, like Pastor Brenda says, or you're in self, you know, all of self is none of God. You know, some of self is some of God, but none of self is all of God. So you have to have none of self to have all of God. You can't think that you're going to get the effects that you're looking for if you're still in the way.
Okay. Pastor Vinny, tell me now what you need. I've been going to God. When I'm all in my mind, I might be falling deep.
Well, if we're all in our mind, there's no place else to fall but into the deep. There is no, and she speaks about freedom like the ocean, No, listen, that in the ocean, there's too much water to drink. That's suicidal. There's too much water. When you talk about peace, you talk about the peace of God that defies all other understanding. It's the peace that settles us. It's the peace, where we can look forward to another day. What am I looking forward to in this song? More deep. More deep nothing.
Okay. But behind my mind it runs. All these thoughts have troubled me. Fighting to give up my pain. Fighting to be on my lane. My mind running to the other side. When it's time to live my life, then it tries to take me out. Tell you what I need right here. Pastor Brenda.
Sadly, that sounds borderline suicidal. And you're trying to fight. You're trying to fight in your mind. Where's your support team? We're people that you can go to. I mean, you're not going to God, okay, but somebody in your circle has to hopefully be able to recognize there's some issues going on here, and you need some help, girl. You definitely need some help. It just screams of somebody who is seeking to get help and doesn't know where to turn to. That's what it's screaming to me.
Okay, Pastor Vinny.
Yeah. The other problem I have with this is that it sounds like she's trying to find words to rhyme. You may not see it, but I'm feeling that she's like trying to find words that rhyme, and they're not really fitting the situation. They're not really, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect in where maybe she thinks she's going.
Okay. That might very well be why Terrence said, if you're going to sing it, you need to sing it like a song. And if you're going to rap, you're going to have to rap it like a rap song. Because he's probably catching kind of like the same thing you're catching, Pastor Vinny. Pastor KL, she says, fighting to give up my pain, fighting to be on my lane, my mind running to the other side. When it's time to live my life, then it tries to take me out.
Well, see, it's hard, as a singer, if you would have sang the song, I might have understood it a little better just by lyrics. I'm trying to understand what's her other side. Is the other side the good side because she's been so deep and depressed on the bad side, and then all of a sudden now, it's saying that it won't let me go that way. Because, the Bible says every time I try to do good, every time I try to think good, every time I try to do well, evil is always present. Right. You know what I mean? So is it the other side that I'm trying to get to, but I can't get there because the enemy is weighing so heavy on me that evil is always present, that I can't stay on the other side? Then you got to come up from among them and be separated.
Pastor Brenda, have you heard this song before?
Never heard this song before. I've heard of her, but I've never heard of this song.
Okay.
And we have to be very careful what we take into our spirit as well. Not a lot of stuff that's out there can really set you in a whole different direction.
Shanti says Pastor KL just explained what the song means. That's exactly what it means. So what are we saying to our viewers today in light of these lyrics that is fully expressing what this individual is feeling, probably what a lot of other people are feeling, whether she's trying to write lyrics that rhyme and make this song, or whether she's really feeling these things. What are we saying to people who are going through what we're hearing, Pastor Vinny? How are we leaving our viewers today?
Well, as Pastor Brenda and Pastor Kale said, it's important for us to understand what we're letting into our minds, what we're letting into our spirits. You might see this CD or whatever they using now. I said, this is a nice looking young lady, simple, and might have a story to tell. But that story, as I said before, needs to point you to God. At the end of a message, there should be no issue as to where the artist is leading you to. You don't want to be led, to jump off a cliff. You don't want to be led to have more questions than when you began. You want to at least have a period, or I think that a lyricist at the end of their message wants to leave you with an exclamation point. Good to have been here, good to have received this, but just not happening for me with this. We got to be careful what we let in.
Okay. Pastor Brenda, how are we leaving our viewers today? What are we leaving them with?
As a musician, I get a chance to listen to all genres of music, all types of music. And there are just certain songs that I know don't fit certain situations. There's certain songs that you may play when you're sad and blue, or there's certain songs that you play when you're on the up and up. But there are other songs that really can play on your mind and set you in a direction that you really shouldn't be going in. You have to be able to discern a lot of stuff. When I'm listening to some of the lyrics, it's like, whoa. And stop it mid-play, because it just doesn't sit right. It just doesn't sit right. So we have to be able to discern, to have our listening ears on. Just because it has a beat, I don't know what it sounds like with music, but just because it has a beat doesn't mean that it's going to be good for our spirit and good for us to take in. So be very, very mindful of what you're listening to.
Okay. Pastor KL, how are we wrapping this up? What are we leaving our viewers with?
What Pastor Brenda ended up with is what I was going with. Don't let the music move you. And that's what we do as people of color. We're so caught up rhythmically, and the music moves you. But as a musician, I had to sit down and say, there's certain songs I heard for years in church, and then I started to wake up. Like I beat the devil running, and I'm so glad. My question was why I was in the same race with the devil, and why would I be happy to beat him running? Other songs like whatever you're doing in this season, don't do it without me. Well, if the Lord decides to wipe out this city, don't do it without me.
Right.
We have to be careful on the things that we validate. If it's not conducive to your spiritual growth, it's not for you. And we take stuff because they have a nice rhythm and they shouting and they doing all this stuff, and we're not listening to the words. And now we're taking this spirit home with us and wonder why we're losing our minds in the house. Death and life lies in the power of the tongue. You keep speaking this stuff into your psyche. And then what happens is that you spill this stuff over on your children, because as little kids, the little kids sing what you sing. They don't know no words. They don't understand the words, but because mama and daddy and grandmama was clapping and they were shouting, how many times we started shouting and we don't know nothing about shouting as children? And then all of a sudden, God got into our behind, and we lost it in church. But we got to be careful of the stuff that we deal with and the stuff that we introduce. Again, do not be fooled by the music. You got Kirk Franklin songs in the club.
Yeah.
We dancing and we popping and Kirk is twerking. We doing all this stuff and we think it's cute. All in the love of Jesus. The devil is a liar.
Yes.
Big time.
Nice way to close it down. Thank you so much, my Due Time crew, for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day.
You as well.
I love you.
Thank you. Feel better, Pastor Brenda. Continue to feel better. Woo! Always being left with some juicy stuff. It's funny because they all have said things that was crossing my mind when I think about, some of the lyrics here in this song, and I think about some of the lyrics that we have come to sing, and that kind of got us jump started the last time into a song that was sung by a gospel artist, and he had some questionable lyrics. I have surveyed some of the songs that we sing as well. And one of the songs that always hits me is when I kind of go in my head and I hear, if you've tried everything and everything failed, try Jesus. I ain't tried everything. Again, by the time I finish trying everything, I'll be dead. Dead mentally, dead emotionally, dead physically. We really, I understand the theory behind the lyrics, but the real reality behind the lyrics, am I going to try everything before I finally get to the point where I realize I need to go to God first? That needs to be my first movement. Not after I done been through everything, I done tried everything, I done went around the world and no. And when I read these lyrics for the first time with you all today, and I have to honestly say, I couldn't make heads or tails of this nonsense. I could not make heads or tails of it. And when I heard that she wasn't a Christian, this wasn't a Christian song, it didn't clear up things for me, because I feel like what the panel has said, it still should make some sense. It still should have a flow of expression that I can move with. And there's nothing here, I said 5 in the morning, I wake up to fight for my earnings, and the fear in my mind is a warning, praying to the one you rely in. And when I even started there, I was like, well, again, when I wake up to fight for my earnings, we talk quite often here about what are you doing when you get up the first thing in the morning? And it's this all that we're talking about is learned behavior. Believe it or not, you just don't wake up and now all of a sudden you just understand that this is the stuff that you're gonna do. This stuff is learned behavior. When you've tried everything and everything's failed, no, that's the way you used to do things. But now we are learning as people of God to just hand it over to God first before I wake up to fight for my earnings. I don't want to wake up to fight for anything. Pastor KL just got finished quoting, running with the devil or running from the devil or whatever the situation is. But I don't want to wake up fighting for anything. I don't want to wake up without that peace. She talks later about this peace that you cannot buy. I need to wake up peacefully. I don't need to wake up with a bunch of turmoil around me. I don't need to wake up with a bunch of turmoil inside of me. I don't know that I've come too far in my walk. I've come too far in my life to wake up like this. I get the, I don't want anybody to say, well, oh, that's not what she meant, Pastor Steph. I get it. But listen, lyrics are lyrics. And I agree with the pastors that say, when you sing this stuff, that's you singing this and speaking this into existence. I wake up, fighting for my earnings. It just may be lyrics to some people, but it's the reality for others. And this is the kind of stuff that we need to spend our day doing. I always marveled with God that when he moved me from the evening broadcast, he had this whole morning broadcast laid out. He didn't ask me what I thought, what I felt, what it should be. He said Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. And when, I understood, wow, we're starting off with some serious thought here. By the time the Due Time crew gets finished with you, boy, if you ain't left with some thought-provoking stuff, you ain't left with nothing. There is not one day as the captain of this ship here on earth that I have ever left this broadcast, and we have been on since May 11th, 2020. We've crossed over 5 years, but there has not been one morning I have gotten off this broadcast that I wasn't left with some stuff on my mind. Just because I closed the show does not mean that I have not been fed throughout the show. There's a lot of information that comes across. And what are we receiving from those who are ministering to us? Well, that's what music does. Believe it or not, music ministers to you. It sets the tone for where you're going. It sets the tone for who you are. It sets the tone for where you want to go. And I always say, I am a Christian person, as you know, but my favorite music is just like jazz, just the instrumentals. Because see, I can listen to the music and now I can dictate where I go. See, once I got some lyrics going on, we just got finished with the lyrics here. Once the lyrics start playing, it tells me what I'm thinking or what I should be thinking. It tells me what I should be feeling. It tells me, it sets the tone. You play a good love song, then you reminiscing about the love of your life, or you're thinking about your husband or your wife, or, now you hear this sad song and now you're sad. And no, I like my instrumental, because instrumental allows Stephanie to just be right there and I can go anywhere. And it is such a feel good moment for me, because now I can go where I need to go. And I don't, that music can't change. It won't change me the way lyrics have changed me. And I agree with them 100%. When you pick up your music, you need to listen to the lyrics, especially those of us who are, you know what? I got to take that back. I was going to say those of us who are walking in the Lord. Nope. I'm thinking about those who are not, and how they have talked about the sadistic ramifications and overtones of a lot of music that people listen to, and what it does to your psyche. We can't afford to have our psyche dictated by man. We can't afford our psyche to be dictated by lyrics written by a person who clearly don't know where she's going. She is literally all over the place. And like Pastor Vinny said, and I laughed, it's like, well, she just trying to get a song that rhymed, because that's what this is. It doesn't matter to me whether it's a Christian song or not, but is it sowing a seed of confusion into your life? That's what we have to pay attention to. What I love about his Due Time with Pastor Steph is the fact that we take everyday practical things and we compare it to what God wants for us. Is all of the stuff we're ingesting what God wants for us? Is everything we're listening to, is everything we're watching what God wants for us? There's some people that do nothing but listen to the news all day. And I've had people say to me, I have to stop listening to all that news. Because, man, I'm twisted afterwards. That's reality. Well, anything that's done that's too much of. I remember, I had to stay away from binge watching. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but there would be times where I would binge watch something and every other face, after I turned off that series, every other face, all I could see were those faces. I felt like at one point I was living or feeling what these people were feeling and living. And I'm like, that's my life. Girl, you better break this thing up. Yeah. You don't realize how you can take on in your head. Not that the enemy is in your head. That's protected by God. Please do not think that the enemy can get in your head. That's not. God has protected that. But we can be influenced heavily. We can be influenced. Now, for those of us who are not covered, though, for those of us who do not have the Holy Spirit, you're vulnerable because you can definitely have demonic spirits. You can possess those. Oh, yeah. Read your Bible. Read your Bible. The only thing that protects you from possessing demonic spirits is the Spirit of the Lord, because the Word of God says that this one temple will not hold two separate spirits. It's already carrying your own spirit. But once you've been given the Spirit of the Lord, that protects you from possessing any demonic spirit. However, it does not protect you from the influence, the outside influence. So watching and binge watching, be careful, because watch how you walk around after that. Yeah. Watch how you walk. Even horror movies. Don't even play that music. Don't turn it on. And I used to love me some horror movies. But after my relationship with God became deeper and deeper, don't even think about playing some of them horror things, because just the music alone, I'm like, get that out of here. Turn that off. Get it out of here. Because just the sound of it. Can you imagine the enemy having a ball with this world? If those of us who are living in the Lord can sense these things happening, imagine what is happening to those who are unprotected. Child, it is frightening. So lyrics, TV, all of this stuff can definitely take you into the wrong direction. You cannot listen and you cannot ingest everything. Protect yourself and understand what it is that you're listening to, what it is that you're playing. Because just like I love what the panel said, your children, you some of the stuff that I hear these kids singing, I'm like, oh Lord, no, they can't listen to that. Don't play that around them. Yeah. Some of the lyrics, I'm like, oh my Lord, they don't even realize what they're singing. And we don't realize, thanks to us, who's playing this stuff in the morning when you're driving your children to school. What are you playing? Are you playing rap music? Are you playing, just all kinds of craziness? Or are you putting on, even in your home in the morning, what are you putting on? Set the tone for the children's day. Help them, walk in the peace that God wants. Get up 20 extra minutes, a half hour, and put it on for you. Say your prayer and put it on for you, so that when you wake the kids up, you ain't yelling and screaming, and now you sending them out the door and you done yelled 90% of the morning and they going out and they all upset. No. Set that tone. Put that music on. Even if it's nothing but an instrumental, put something mild and light on. You ain't got to go classical, because everybody doesn't have the palate for that. But set the tone in the morning and try music without lyrics. Because again, lyrics help to tell you what you're thinking, tell you what you should be feeling. So if it's telling you, then it's telling those around. And let your children, let them get up in the morning, let them read a Bible verse, let them help them say their prayers, play it and let them hum and sing those beautiful songs. My grandmother used to call them the songs of Zion. You ain't got to necessarily play the songs of Zion, but you definitely want to set the tone for what you do give your children. Believe it or not, it matters. Believe it or not, it matters. You want to be responsible for how they start their day. How they start their day. Wake them up with a nice little gentle touch and let them wake up to hearing just that peace in the room. The peace beyond all understanding. And watch how that changes the day. Try it. Let me know how it works. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us today and helping keep that chat room alive. Please do not miss this moment where you can take Jesus as your personal Savior. Please do not miss the opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. I don't care if you say, I've accepted Christ as my personal Savior. This journey is ongoing and never ending. Ongoing and never ending. And you need to work every day strengthening that relationship with God. Unfortunately, too many of us feel once we've accepted the Lord as our personal Savior, the journey stops. I don't have to work anymore. I ain't got to think about it no more. It's going to happen automatically. No, that is a working relationship, and you need to make sure you keep working at it. You have your job to do, and God has His. All right. Well, last week we ran into a little snag for our Thursday, My 2 cents. Well, this week we're back on with The Fire Inside with Ryan Destiny and Unstoppable with Jennifer Lopez. Please come and join at 7:30 right here. And if you have not already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You make sure you hit that notification bell. And this way you don't have to be reminded in your own mind. Your device will remind you. It'll pop up and let you know, hey, we get ready to start. Come on, laugh, join us. Get that popcorn, get that beverage. Make sure you're there. Until tomorrow, God spans where it's Wow Wednesday. Until then, I love you.